Now, you've encouraged us to find whatever version of away time, balance, retreat that we need that charges our batteries. How do we maximize that time once we figure it out? Once we schedule it, once we go for the ride or go to the destination. How do we maximize that time and make sure that we're doing what we need to do in those moments to return back to our life full and ready to engage and be the total version of ourselves that we need to be?
That's a phenomenal question. And I'm so glad you bring it up because simply getting away is not enough. Simply going to wherever you go, that the place that nourishes your soul or whatever is not enough, because you got to remember we live in a rhythm of distraction. We live in a world where everything is noisy and we're bombarded by noise. So you can be away, but not be away. And so you have to be intentional. The moment that you leave that house, or the moment that you, excuse me, walk into that secret place, walk into that room, walk in it, the moment that you do that, you have to make up your mind that I am pursuing balance and I'm going to fight against the text messages. I'm going to fight against the phone calls. And those are all outer disruptions, but I'm also going to fight against the inner disruptions. I'm going to fight against those thoughts that come and try to pull me out of this moment. I'm going to be present in the moment. So I think it's important to protect your process to balance, because I'll give you an example, and I'll be honest with you. On one of my last trips, I only had 3 days. And the first day I did great. The second day, work, it snuck in there on me, man. And before I knew it, I was robbed of day 2. I got it back together for day 3. And I'll be honest, I didn't leave that retreat as refreshed and as balanced as I would have had I not, quite frankly, become disloyal to myself and my process. So it happens. It is a fight. You have to be intentional and you have to vociferously guard that time.
Man, that's good. Thank you for your transparency. I think that's going to help a whole lot of people. And so I'm also curious, it just popped into my head, because we like to keep it real and relative here. So let's say somebody's listening and they're like, this is what I needed. I'm going to get the book. I'm going to follow the instructions and I'm going to start this process. And they bring it to their spouse. Their spouse don't get it. Their spouse has a little pushback, but what about this? What about that? And what the spouse is saying could be super relevant because we all have this menu of responsibilities. And it's the reason we've been trying to seek balance in the first place. And so, because you have, like I said, businesses, churches, family, did those thoughts ever prevent you from pursuing because you're like, man, I can't, who's gonna preach? Who's gonna run the business meeting? How are all the kids gonna get to school? Did you ever let those thoughts in another season of your life prevent you from getting to balance? And if that's the case, how did you overcome that uh, guilt of being responsible for so many things and not wanting to let those things fall and not wanting to let those people down?
The answer to your question is absolutely. There is an inherent guilt associated with balance, particularly in the beginning. Because you do have the reason why you need balance. So the reason why people are pursuing balance is because they have all of these responsibilities that they have to manage. And so in the early stages of it, one of the things that kept me out of balance, or what I call in the book imbalanced, was I failed to give my soul what it needed, because I didn't want to let this person down. I didn't want to let this organization down. I didn't want to let, this situation down. And I had to realize I am actually letting them down because I'm not at my best. And I had to take control. And it is an act of faith, to be honest with you. Some people think that the hardest steps of faith are steps out, or steps towards something, or steps moving towards something. And those, leaps of faith, they're difficult. But one of the things that I've learned about faith is sometimes faith, that the hardest thing to do in faith is to stop. It is to stop and to believe that if you stop, your world will not crumble. You know, for me, I'm a man of faith. Scripturally, the word talks about Sabbath rest. And what's interesting is that word Sabbath is about rest, but the Hebrew word for Sabbath, a better translation of that word, is not to rest. Watch this. It is to cease, to stop, to stop. And so it takes more faith sometimes to stop than it does to go, because the notion is if I stop my world will not continue to spin. And that is absolutely crazy. It is an illusion to believe that if I am commanded as a man of faith, if I am commanded to cease, then why would I not believe that the God who gave me the life and the responsibilities and the family and the ministry and the business, all these things, cannot sustain that while I sustain myself? And so I had to come to this place of faith, in all honesty, to believe that I can stop, I can delegate, I can create systems and structure. And this is really important. I can create systems and structures ahead of time so that when I need what I need, when I need balance, when I need rest, it's no problem. I can press a button. See, oftentimes that's another thing. We don't build our lives for breaks. We build our lives around our involvement, and that's a problem. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely, I struggled with it, but I overcame it by realizing that there were a couple of illusions. One, it was an illusion to think that my presence meant productivity, because that's not true. Presence and productivity aren't the same thing, right? And then I had to overcome the other illusion that said that if I stopped, things would fall apart. And I realized in some instances that when I delegated, not only were things sustained, but some things went to another level because I took my hand off of it and fresh hands came on it and pushed that thing forward.